In this lesson, we're going to look at what you've all been waiting for, and that's actually styling that navigation bar. So let's jump into our CSS and open that up, and now we're going to take a look at styling our menu area and our navigation bar. So jumping over to that, so I'm going to just quickly look at the HTML here, and we see that we've given an ID of nav and that it's unordered list, and we've got list items. So first of all, let's take a look at our nav menu, and we're going to identify it by using nav. And I'm going to make one really quick update here. I'm going to change this into a class because I think it just gets presented better as a class. So I'm going to update this one down here to be class as well. So save and save. So let's add in some styling properties here. So for our nav, what I want to do is I want to actually use floats. So I want to float this to the right because we do have our logo there, and I want the navigation stuff to stay here on the right hand side. So this is where we're going to use float, and then of course with floats we need to clear out those floats as well. So initially I want to float it to the right, and we can see here that right away it floats over to this right hand side, and it'll look a lot better once I take care of floating that logo as well. So next, maybe we want to set a font family, because as we play around with the different fonts, maybe we don't want to have this default font that we used previously within our section here, and maybe we want to use something like Arial or something like that. So we can specify that here. So I'm just going to quote around it, Arial. And a lot of times within menus, we like to use that text transform, and maybe we want to transform it all to uppercase, so that looks nice and neatly presented there. So that's all uppercase, and maybe that's it right now for the main nav class. So let's go down to update this so it doesn't look like an unordered list anymore. So let's specify nav ul, and then here we're going to set padding to 0, and this is just going to get rid of some of that default that might have been available within there. So we don't really see much of a difference because we're already floating it over to the right. So that just gets rid of some of that default that's there. Now next we're going to do nav ul, and now we're going to look at the list items. So with the list items, we're going to use float again, and this time we're going to use float left so that they align left of each other. We want to get rid of, again, that unordered list styling. So let's do list type, or list style type I should say, and that's going to be none. So that gets rid of the little style types there, the little round dots that we had, and maybe we want to set a border around them. So I'm going to set a border of 1 pic solid, and let's do a really light color there. So it's got a very light border around it. So now we can see it's starting to look more and more like a navigation bar. And now the last thing to take care of is actually taking care of our hyperlinks that are within there. So again, we're going to use that same format where we're identifying that those are the elements that we want to apply this styling to. And now let's add in some additional styling, so we can do things like our background color, and let's set our background color to be black. And so we need to make our buttons, our text visible, so we'll set the color to white. And maybe we want to add some padding so it's a little bit more blocky around it. And speaking of block, so we want to do a display block. So this allows us to take up all the available space. And usually with menu items, it's understood that these are menu items, so we want to get rid of text decoration, and I'm going to set it to none, and that gets rid of that underline there that we had. So now we can save that, and we can refresh it. And it does look more and more like a navigation menu. The only thing that's missing here, when I go over these various elements, nothing's happening. And that's because we haven't set the hover yet, and the hover is just that little magic piece of styling that presents the content to the user so in a fashion that they can say, oh, well, these are clickable because something's happening, there's some kind of action taking place whenever we're hovering over them. So maybe we want to have some real contrast here, and I'm going to just change this to white and to black. So they're going to be completely different whenever I update this. Forgot the semicolon there. Save. And now whenever I hover over them, we see that they're swapping colors. So this is nice. So now we've got a navigation menu, and all of the buttons are still working as they did before, and it's really starting to come together. So the next set of lessons, we're going to dive deeper into setting up and really fix up this navigation menu area here, because we don't want this logo, unless this is the styling that we're going for. We typically wouldn't want this to show up kind of like halfway through here and then this up here. So we want to move this up, and we're going to work on setting up that logo. So that's coming up in the next lesson.